We're talking about a bank today, but honestly, the story is so much more than just finance. It's a story about pure, unadulterated resilience. It's about how one founder, James Mushore, built a banking giant from the ground up, based on principle, only to watch it get tested by fire. Okay, let's get into this. So our story doesn't start in some fancy boardroom. It starts on a school hockey field. A young James Mushore, incredibly talented, on the verge of making the national team, gets viciously attacked by an opponent. It was a brutal, racially motivated assault. And the worst part? The referee saw the whole thing and just turned away. That one moment, that painful injustice, taught Mushore a lesson that would shape his entire life. When the system is rigged against you, you have no choice but to survive. Okay, fast forward a few years. Mushore is now a successful chartered accountant, making a great career for himself in London. Then, one day, the phone rings. It's his friend, Julius Maconie. And the idea he pitches is just audacious. He says it's time to come home to Zimbabwe and do something nobody thought they could do: start their own bank. Now, this was never going to be a walk in the park. What came next was a grueling 3-year battle. They were hit with deliberate roadblocks, endless red tape, a system that felt like it was specifically designed to keep them out. It was a fight that tested them every single day. And it was way harder than what leader Black-owned banks would have to face. And you hear that quote, "What do you Blacks know about starting a bank?" And it perfectly captures the attitude they were up against. But here's the thing, that wasn't from some old colonial holdover. That came from fellow Black officials at the very authority that was supposed to grant them a license. So, to prove everyone wrong, the founders did something incredible. They made huge personal sacrifices, even mortgaging their own homes, to come up with the capital. So on June 1st, 1993, after all that struggle, the National Merchant Bank of Zimbabwe, NMBZ, finally opens its doors. And what happens next is just explosive. In just 18 months, a year and a half, they became the largest merchant bank in the entire country. So the big question is, how on earth did they do that? Well, their formula was pretty simple. But at the time, it was absolutely revolutionary. See, the economy was dominated by this old boys network, and they just rejected that completely. They hired the absolute best people, based only on their skills and their potential. As a merchant bank serving corporations, they had to be hungrier, smarter, and faster than the established players. Their business exploded through word of mouth because they were just that good. And crucially, they made it a mission to lift up other Black entrepreneurs. They truly believed that a rising tide lifts all boats. And this is the part that was just genius. They didn't just write checks and walk away. No, they were architects of success. Take a company like Varichem. They landed a big government contract but had zero capital to fulfill it. So NBZ stepped in. They paid Varichem's supplier directly. Once the goods were delivered, the government paid NBZ directly. NBZ then took their cut and gave the rest, the profit, to Varichem. It was a brilliant win-win model for building a whole new business ecosystem. Their success at home was just off the charts. They quickly became the bank you went to for big deals, handling major stock market listings like the CBZ IPO. But to get to that next level, they needed international lines of credit. And for that, they needed global credibility. This led to a really bold strategic move. They decided to do a dual listing. Listing on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange was a no-brainer for raising money locally. But the real masterstroke was listing on the main board of the London Stock Exchange. I mean, this was huge. It was a grueling process that basically forced them to prove their internal governance was world-class. It was like getting a global stamp of approval, and it instantly opened the doors to international money. So, did it work? Oh, you better believe it. The world definitely took notice. Their London Stock Exchange offering was nearly 5 times oversubscribed. They raised £30 million and cemented their reputation as a serious global player. But you know how it goes. When you get that big, that successful, you start to paint a target on your back. Just as NMBZ was hitting its peak, the whole political climate in Zimbabwe shifted. A new central bank governor came in, inflation was spiraling out of control, and a political tsunami started to form. And it was heading right for the country's successful Black-owned banks, who were suddenly seen as a threat. The main accusation they leveled was externalization, this big, scary word for illegally moving foreign currency out of the country. But the reality was just simple, everyday banking. In an economy with tight currency controls, NMBZ was playing a vital role. They were legally buying foreign currency from exporters and selling it to importers who desperately needed it. And And here's the key. Every single transaction had a paper trail. And this is where the whole thing became terrifyingly clear. The central bank sent NMBZ a list of transactions and said, "We're investigating these, explain them." But when NMBZ looked at the list, they realized something insane. A bunch of the transactions on the list were ones the central bank had personally ordered them to do. When they pointed this out, the response they got was chilling. They were told, "Don't answer those ones, answer all the other ones." It wasn't an investigation, it was a setup, a clear witch hunt. Realizing there was no way to reason with them, Mushore and his partners were forced to flee the country. Years later, Mushore actually returned to Zimbabwe to clear his name. He spent 17 days in a maximum security prison. And in the end, he was cleared of all the serious charges. The only thing he was fined for was a tiny passport stamping issue. And the fine was the equivalent of 10 US cents. 10 cents. This whole journey from that kid on the hockey field to the founder in a prison cell, it all came together to solidify Mushore's core beliefs. A fierce, unwavering belief that merit has to beat corruption, that you absolutely cannot give up no matter how tough it gets, and most importantly, that a country can only ever truly succeed if it has strong, independent institutions that can hold power accountable. You see, the story of NMBZ is so much more than a case study. It's this powerful lesson about the clash between building something great and the forces that try to tear it down. It's meritocracy versus cronyism. It shows you what it takes to create incredible value, and it leaves us with a really critical question. Not just for one country, but for any nation trying to build a better future.